Here we are at the end of year 2019, and I was thinking, who could predict it years ago that we will reach the last Sunday of 2019? Nobody. It was almost impossible to think of this thing, but here we are. But you know, there is a person who could predict that, and this person is God. God is the only person who could predict that this Sunday, we will reach this Sunday, we'll be alive, well and sound, and in this, like, team together. But He is the one who decrees the appointed times and the seasons. And this is an appointed time. God has appointed you to be here, and I, to enjoy fellowship and to enjoy His presence. Both Old and New Testament presents God as the one who is in charge with the beginning of activities, with the period and the end of the same activities. So today I want to focus on the Old Testament more than the New, and I challenge you to read with me Ecclesiastes chapter 3. So open up your Bible and Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We'll read the first 11 verses. And then the main idea I would like to focus today in is beautiful in its time. And maybe you understand why I said that. Everything is beautiful in its time. So let's read. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to soothe. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What gain has the worker from his soil? I have seen the business that God has given to the children of men to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. Believe it or not, the beginning of a season is made beautiful by God. The duration of a season is made beautiful by God. And you know what? Sometimes we don't think about this, but every time when it's the end of that season, it's beautiful because God. So why I'm saying this, because we tend to say, hey, the beginning is awesome, the duration is awesome, but when it ends, I don't like it. It's not beautiful. Yeah, actually it's so ugly. But God made even the end beautiful. Why I'm saying this? Because today's almost an end of a year. Almost. There are two or three more days, but today we celebrate the end of this year in the presence of God. But this is just us, okay? But God makes every season beautiful because it is right. That season is right, is appropriate. This is why it's beautiful. And Solomon says that all of our activities, whether constructive or destructive, all of them are beautiful because God made them beautiful from the beginning of the time. This is why He is called the Ancient of Times, because He's before the time. So when before time, God set appointed times in our lives and seasons, and also the end of that season for His glory. And I brought with me something very interesting. You know what it is, right? You know how to use it? Yeah. There is anybody here doesn't know how to use it? Daniela, do you know how to use it? You are old enough, but a few days ago we had some visitors from Bucharest actually, and there was like a boy. He was, how old was he? 9 years old, maybe less. And he saw that, and he realized it's a phone, so he started to push. He started to push he said it's broken, and a parent said, hey, look, this is not, how you are used to with our, cell phones, and to push it or to slide, but this is, it's a dial. So, this was beautiful in its time, and useful too. Today is just beautiful. Well, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Maybe there are people that they look at this and they say, oh no, I don't like it. But I do. Especially when I do this. It's something beautiful in it. And this is why I brought it with me, because God made beautiful things and activities in our life beautiful in their time, their own time. That was beautiful several years ago, actually. 1977. 1977. But when you look at a phone like the last generation of smartphones, you say, oh, this is beautiful. So everything, every activity is beautiful in its time. And this is the main idea I would like to emphasize today. Why? Because the end is actually a new beginning. When you talk about an end, you also expect a new beginning. So this is the last Sunday of 2019, and I look forward for the next Sunday, which is next year. Well, end and a new beginning. It is like a chapter in a book. You end up a chapter and you expect a new chapter because it's not done yet. I need to know what is next. So we need to know what is next year, but the next chapter is in God's hand. It's not in our hands. And this is the beauty of it. The beauty of the future is in God's hands. During this year, I know you've experienced different seasons, and the sequence of the seasons were orchestrated by God. And at the end of this message, actually, I will ask you to think about it, to tell us and bear testimony about some of the seasons of your life during 2019. So you have like maybe 20 minutes to think about this. Some seasons, I believe there was not just one season entire year. So, but I will tell you some of my life. But so chapter 3, verse 2. Solomon says, there is a time to be born and a time to die. Well, is the time to die a beautiful time? Well, death in the scripture means separation. So we don't like separation. But when you think of separation, you also think of a new life. Because if you are a believer and you believe that there is life after death, death is just an end of a chapter, but it's also time to live and to enjoy life after death. I guess death is not always a bad experience. And actually, it's not a bad experience. We know that after death is another chapter, and for us it's called, if let's say we are not raptured, the next chapter for us is called the paradise. So we'll enjoy God's presence, we will see and meet Jesus, and we'll wait the resurrection, which is Awesome. And then Solomon goes on and said that time to plant, that time to pluck up what is planted. Have you planted something this year? I don't know. But we are still planting this church. Like this is the 5th year and we are still planting. And actually a few weeks ago I was listening a song, and in that song was a line saying that we are planting and we are waiting for the harvest. And I was like, you know what, you are right. We are not there yet. So whether you plant a church or you plant, I don't know, tomatoes, it's a time for planting and also a time for harvesting. But right now, for us, is not a time. And I don't know, maybe 2019, you planted something and or you plucked up something. I don't know. Think about this. Verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal. Sometimes it's hard to find what is best, to kill it or to heal it. Again, it's hard to understand what is better, to kill it or to heal it. For our church this year was the time to kill a partnership with the Baptist Union, not to heal it. And because of our different opinions about the Bible. But also, we started a new relationship with another union. So it's hard, sometimes it's hard to know when to kill it or to heal it. Because sometimes when you heal something, you give just another chance to do something bad. So who knows? God knows. So when you don't know, Lord, it's time to kill it or to heal it. What is the best solution? Prayer. God knows when is the proper time because He made it beautiful. I mean, who would think that God made healing beautiful? Well, sometimes we kill the pig and we eat it. Well, some people kill turkeys. Everybody's happy, but not the pig. And not the turkey. But it's a time to kill and to heal. A time, Solomon goes on, and time to break down and a time to build up. We know that every building after a while needs to be tear down because it's the time of a new beginning. A new building will be built up. When you don't know when to build or to tear down something, you are responsible and you will pay it. That's why it's better to ask God, Lord, what is better to do now? I don't know. I'm confused. Verse 4, a time to weep and a time to laugh. The time to weep is beautiful, but we don't like it. We don't like to cry, but there is a beauty in crying. There is a beauty. The time to cry, it's also beautiful. Once you stop weeping, another chapter of laughing comes. So it's all orchestrated by God. And then Solomon goes even like next level. When you think of this, it's next level. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Now this is intense. Mourning, when you lose someone, dear, someone from your family. And dance, when you express your joy and like you jump and you don't know, you are too happy and you don't know how to express it. It's all beautiful because God made it beautiful. This is interesting, verse 5. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. Well, this is kind of hard. Why you throw stones away? Throwing and gathering. Well, in the Old Testament, you throw stones when you kill someone. But I don't think it's about this, killing and by stone. No, but I think I was thinking of when you build a house and the context and the context is also of building and destroying something. When you cast away stones is when you have too many and you need more space, You say, hey, would you like some stones? I have two plenty. Yeah, sure, I need some. So one is giving, the other one is bringing in. Everybody is happy, and both of them are beautiful. But there is any purpose in this? We'll see. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. I was, here we like to hug people, but I was interested. There is a season when you refrain from embracing, and maybe this is the best way to show love. Why? Because the hug can give a wrong signal and a sin can follow. And refraining from embracing is beautiful in its time. So there is time to embrace, there is time to refrain. So both of them are beautiful. Sometimes we think, oh, this is not beautiful. But it is. Solomon says it is. Verse 6, a time to seek and a time to lose. Well, to lose here is, I was looking in the original, and it's like intensive form. It's when you lose something, but actually you give up of something that is already lost. So now it makes sense a little bit. A time to seek, and then a time to say, done. I'm not seeking anymore. Right? You need wisdom. One needs them to seek, to find, and to give up what is lost. Solomon says that when you give up finding what was lost, it's made beautiful in that time by God. So something is lost, a person, a thing, I don't know, an opportunity, and you are still trying to, I need to find it, I need to find it. And then God says, hey, stop. Give up. Gata. All done. No more. And you say, no, Lord, let me, and you push it. And the Lord said, no, this is beautiful. You understand? It's beautiful. Sometimes we don't. That's the problem. A time to keep and a time to cast. Everything you have now, it will come a time to throw it away. Just leave it go. Let it go. The problem is when. We don't know. So this is why we pray, Lord, I don't know. It's time to keep, or it's time to what should I do? Verse 7. A time to tear and a time to sue. This is about profound sadness, and that habit when an Israelite was so sad that they were tearing their clothes. But when the sad moment passed, was the time to sew it again. So you are done. It's the crisis is over. Right now, it's time to sew it again, and life continues. So there is a time of everything. This is why, and this is made beautiful by God. This is why do not despair. And I'm not preaching to you, I'm preaching to me now. Because it's so easy to despair. But this is who we are. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. Well, that's hard. This is hard. Do you have any regrets in 2019? Like, how about the time when it was time to speak and you keep silence? Or maybe the other way around. In life, we have times when we need to keep silence, and this is beautiful. It's made beautiful by God. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate. Since when hate is beautiful? Well, God is beautiful, and God hates. Is God beautiful? Because He hates? Yeah, He's beautiful even when He hates. In Proverbs 6:16-19 says, there are 6 things that the Lord hates. Read the passage and you'll see what God hates. When He hates, He's beautiful. It's time to love and it's time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. Well, I don't know your words this year, but according to Solomon, they are made beautiful in God's time, in His time. It's just a matter of understanding God when that war is beautiful. But it's weird to talk like that. The war is beautiful. Well, you don't know. Because God makes them beautiful. War and peace. Just observe God at work and follow His lead in that war or in that peaceful time. As we have seen, an end is a new beginning. It's not just an end. It's a new beginning also. What was brought to an end, what is also a new beginning in 2019. Follow God's lead. He makes all activities beautiful in their appointed time and during that season and also at the end of that season. When you are not paying attention to the appointed time of the beginning and the end and also the period of that season, you will be hurt, disappointed, stressed, sad, I don't know, fill in. When you pay attention to God's move, when God moves and you pay attention, then it's blessing. Oh, there is another season. But sometimes I'm not used to think like this. I don't know about you, maybe you're better in this. But it's when you see things changing, it's like, okay, what is going on? Why is this? Why is that? Oh, it's a new season. Or ask yourself, what season I am in? Now, in verse 9 to 11, Solomon says that the purpose, why is beautiful in its time, the purpose is eternal. 9 to 11. What gain has the worker from his toil? I have seen the business that God has given to the children of men to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in His time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. All of these activities happen. All of these situations happen. But what is the profit? There is any profit? Yeah. There is an immediate profit, but also an eternal profit, a final profit. Are all these activities a goal in themselves? Then that life is very sad. It's like, you remember what Solomon said about life under the sun or under the heavens? Actually, he starts with this. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. So when you live your life under heaven with this limit, everything you do here is like, it's so crazy. You don't understand. You're confused because there is a temporary meaning, but when you don't catch the final meaning, you don't catch the eternal meaning, then it's just despair. It's just under the sun. And, well, do you live to tear down and build, and again to tear down and build, and then you think, there is no purpose on this. Peace, war, peace, war, peace, war. Where is the purpose? I don't know what is the purpose. So this is why if you live under the sun and the heavens, it's just despair. When you reach this point of view, God's point of view, then you understand. It's like, oh, I got it. Now I got it. Here is depression. Here is meaning. You find meaning to your life. If you are born to die, what is the purpose or the profit? If you plant and just harvest what you plant, what is the purpose? Just that? This is just your life? this is a materialistic worldview. This is why what Solomon says, when you see this, that pushes you to look for something better. And this is God's purpose. He scheduled all these activities for us and this is why he said, God subjects us to these activities to think about it. Is this, my life is just this, or is more? The purpose of all our activities is to somehow to push us, to force us to look above the sun and to find the Son of God, if I may, play with these two words. We cannot fathom God's activity and His purpose, but we know that there is something beyond the sun. It transcends our reality, and this is God. I don't know if you lived throughout 2019 with this type of mentality, of mindset, like everything is God. It's about Him. It's, it's beautiful. Or you thought, oh no, what should I do? Well, you know your experience. But sometimes we are up, sometimes we are down. Because we don't focus on this perspective. And God help us because He put us in us. This is what, let me quote it. This is so beautiful how Solomon said, and also He has put eternity in our hearts. Eternity. Why? Because without His help, we cannot reach this area where He lives. It's impossible. Actually, I have done this with my students. I chose a small object and I said, okay, tell me, where is it? And they started to, and say, oh, it's in left hand, and oh, it's right hand. And I said, hey, keep saying, where is it? And they were, oh, come on. And when I see that, they are kind of bored with this, because I'm not showing that. Like, come on, you are able to tell me. Come on, tell me. And they started again, and after like 5 minutes, there is no meaning of it. And I said, oh, it is. Because you don't know until I reveal it to you. And after that, oh, I knew it was there. And, they're kind of crazy. But the point is, without God revealing us something about Himself, we don't know anything about God. We are just under the sun. And we are in this life confused. It's a crazy life, and we are confused, and we don't know why it's happening. And why is this? Why is happening to me? Well, there is a season. It's beautiful. Oh, I don't see the beauty of it. Because you don't see God. But when you reach this area where God is, then everything makes sense. Because He revealed it to us. So Solomon, actually, he lived throughout all of these. He thought, man, this life is more than what I experience now. And this is why he said, try it, enjoy life. Because life is just this. And after you enjoy it, you think, oh, there is nothing more? That's it? Well, the atheists say, oh, yeah, that's it. When you are done, you are done. No. Actually, God help us to see beyond, to transcend the sun, and to see God. I know 2019 was an year full of seasons for us. God's purpose this year was to make you and I to fathom His activity and to understand Him and to understand by revelation. These days probably you will draw a line and will think, what did I do this year? Well, if you reach this conclusion, you will be blessed. If under that line you say, oh, God made all things beautiful. Well, it's easy to look back and say, God made everything beautiful, you know, the war and the peace. But when you were in the middle of the war, like, I don't like it. But how about when you are in the middle of that war to say, it's beautiful. Somehow there is beauty in it. I don't understand it, but there is beauty. It was the beginning, the period, and the end. There is an appointed time, there is a sequence of seasons, and everything is made beautiful in its time. Now, I cannot finish this message until I'll tell you another thing. I haven't read it yet, but it's in verse 17. Okay? So, Ecclesiastes 3, verse 17. It's beautiful in its time because the judgment is guaranteed. And maybe you think, oh, we're talking about judgment. This is not beautiful. Well, it's beautiful. But I should read first. Okay. So Ecclesiastes 3:17. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every matter and for every work. There is a time, and this is the word for all the time. So the appointed time and the seasons. There is a time for everything. Why? Because God will judge it. Well, I don't think you will like this, but everybody will be judged. The believers will be judged. The unbelievers will be judged. In the New Testament, we find this statement that Paul said, 2 Corinthians 5:10. Look in 2 Corinthians 5:10. We as believers, we will be judged by God, actually by Jesus. And it's called the judgment seat of Christ. Remember this term, the judgment seat of Christ. The judgment seat is also called Bema, but I will tell you more about it. So I guess you are there already. 2 Corinthians 5:10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, and the word in Greek is Bema, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. He was talking to the believers. He was not talking to the unbelievers. He was talking to the believers in Corinth. The city of Corinth was famous for the games, like Olympic games, but they were called Isthmian games. And at the end of each contest or event, the athletes would appear before a large decorated platform called the Bema. And there was a judge giving them prizes, you know. So if you won something, it was like a medal, or actually it was like a crown called Stephanos, like a victory crown. The Bema judgment for us, for the believers, is not to determine whether we are saved or not. That is already done. You know, by the blood of Jesus, we are saved. But there is something to be judged in us. The Bema judgment is not to punish the believers for the sins committed before or after their conversion or after their salvation. No, it's not. The Bema, this judgment seat of Christ, is to determine the way the righteous have used their privileges and responsibilities from the moment of their conversion or salvation until the end. So if you are a believer today, you will be judged. I will be judged for all the privileges I had, for all the responsibilities I had. If I was righteous or not, if I was faithful or not. And according to this, there will be a reward or not. Or not. That's the problem. We think, Maybe you've heard people like this saying, "Oh, you know what? If I'll be in heaven, like the janitor there, just to to clean up the streets." Well, you don't need to clean up the streets because the streets are already clean. By the way, the streets are out of gold, right? You know this? Yeah? You know what kind of a gold? Maybe you think, oh, there is just one kind of a gold. No, there are multiple kinds of gold. But what kind of gold? Do you know what the Bible says about that gold? It's transparent. Now deal with this. A transparent gold. I don't know how it is, but it's so pure that it's transparent. So if it's so pure, those trees, they don't need, people to clean up. They're already clean. And this life this is why we are in church. To take responsibility, to take leadership, and to do something to prepare for that time. Because God will give us more responsibilities and authority, not just in the millennium, but also beyond that. So the Bema judgment is to give us rewards. But there is another judgment. Remember what Solomon said? God will judge the righteous and the unrighteous people. Well, for unbelievers, the judgment is called the Great White Throne. The judgment at the Great White Throne is to determine their condemnation. So here is to determine the reward. Here is to determine condemnation. You know what? In heaven and in hell, or the lake of fire, there is no communism. Sorry for that. There are people even today thinking, communism is the best form of organization. Well, it's not. And believe it, we've been in communism, we know. But in heaven and in the lake of fire, condemnations will be different, and the rewards will be different. Revelation 20, verse 14 and 15. Revelation 20, 14 and 15. It says there, "Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire." So at that great white throne judgment, people, the unrighteous, will receive a body, and then they will be thrown into the lake of fire. And the lake of fire is eternal. This is why their punishment will be eternal. Every chapter of our life, every season will be judged, and if you are a believer, you will receive a reward. Woo-hoo. Yeah, you are not happy?
Yes.
Because if you are just a spectator in the church, you know what you will receive? Nothing. Nothing. We are saved. Paul said to Titus, we are saved for the good deeds. And these are already written for us. God expects us to do something, and He expects us to reward us. But if you do this, it's like, that guy who buried his talent. Nothing. Well, but if you are an unbeliever, then you will be condemned. The judgment is guaranteed. There was nothing in your life in 2019 that was not prepared or made beautiful by God. Everything was made beautiful by God in its time. Sometimes we are blind and we don't see this. It's like, I don't see it. This is not beautiful. He will judge you if you acted according to His plan and purpose. And He will reward you because you knew to enjoy every moment of your life Have you enjoyed every moment of 2019? I didn't. Maybe you are better than me. Good for you. But I was not. In looking through these verses, that was like not a judgment, but I started to think about this. I was not always. And the end, it's actually a new beginning. And this is why it's beautiful. Be ready for the next season. This Sunday is the last one in 2019. Next Sunday is the first one in 2020. Just when you say 2020, it's like, whoa, it's a lot. But it's by God's grace, okay? We are at the end of this season, but there is a new beginning, a new season. Starting with 1st of January, it's a new season, brand new for you. Be ready. Be ready. God, just wait. He's anxious to give you rewards for living out in a righteous manner these seasons. We are a spectacle for angels. We are enemies for demons. But what is the most important thing is God is watching us. He is protecting us. He helped us to see why we are here. Nothing is an accident. Nothing is everything is orchestrated. Remember this. God made all the past and the future seasons how? Beautiful. Beautiful.